Do we have a microphone? Yes, we have a microphone. And Kathy's first one in the door. It's supposed to be 81 tomorrow. I had to go up and pick up 2 brake lines for the truck. So I have everything ready to put the master cylinder on, and it's supposed to be 81 tomorrow. It was 77 or 78 today. And then Thursday it's supposed to rain. Typical frickin' Cleveland. How come everything sounds so low tonight? Let me bump this a little bit. My headphones sound a little low. Maybe I hit the... Yeah, I must have hit the volume there. And the Runbo's here. Should we give it a minute or two to see if Linda's before we start? Although she might be feeding. Although she might not be feeling too well. She didn't sound like she was doing too good yesterday. I don't know why I keep looking over there for... The damn chat's right in front of me. I keep looking over there all the time. Actually, I should see if I could just... No. I can't eliminate the chat. Okay, no big deal. I don't need to be looking at it over there anyway. Let's do a start. Station WDWL TV. Corporate offices located on Grumpy Vulture Boulevard. And my studio is on Grumpy Old Man Road. And for those of you here for the first time, I'm the Grumpy Old Man. And this asshole is the Grumpy Vulture. There, take your bow. No more spotlight. There. Comes over here, brings his fucking spotlight. You don't need a spotlight. Idiot. Yeah, he'll be in the CEO's office in the morning. Little wings will be flapping. Hotline will be ringing. There is a beetle crawling alongside of the console. How did that son of a bitch get in here? Hang on while I eradicate a beetle. Aha! Now you've gone from being an insect to a vegetable. You went from a beetle to being squash. How the hell that got in here? Where's a Kleenex? Here. Okay. In the wastebasket you go. There you go. Today is World Coconut Day. Who comes up with this shit? Yeah, there was a big banner when I opened my computer. World Coconut Day. We need World Grumpy Old Man Day. That's what we need. No, we don't need World Grumpy Vulture Day. No. Boy, he jumped on that one in a hurry. Damn bird. This goofy lighter. Did it light? I hate this Ronson lighter. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Maybe my buddy who gave it to me will be listening going, I give you a free gift and you bitch about it. It is crappy. You light it and the flame comes up, then it goes down, and it stays inside the little cage around the wick, and it burns down in there. You're impatient, Ron. I was waiting to see when Linda showed up. Yes, my milk chute is right on the side of my house. My mail carrier rings the doorbell to let me know the mail is here. I don't know if it was a group effort or I was waiting for Linda. I didn't need that piece of bag anyway. The old Cleveland skyline. Which way's up here? I can never fold these back up when I open them. Come on, open up. The old Cleveland skyline. Cleveland. That replaces the one I lost. As a matter of fact, I never even wore the damn shirt. There was something going on at Edgewater. Oh, no, it was the 4th of July. 4th of July at Edgewater. And I went down early because that's when John Lanigan was still here in Cleveland. And also the first 500 people showed up got the free Cleveland Skyline t-shirt. And I don't know what the hell happened to it. It vanished. Very cool, very cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I like the color too. Very nice powder blue. I'll have to hang it up, get the wrinkles out of it. Very neat. Very neat. Thank you, thank you. And there's the torn piece of envelope we don't need anymore. There. Oh. Turn sideways. Oh, I'll hear about that in the morning. Oh. I lit a cigarette. Where? Oh, God, I lost the cigarette. I'll be setting the studio on fire. I love doing this. It's like a Band-Aid. Oh, I'll hear about that tomorrow. I'll never forget my first hernia surgery. And I had a bandage on about that big. And it was day 3. And I had pissed the nurse off. Only to find out after I pissed her off, she was a sergeant in the Marine Reserves. And she goes, the doctor wants me to put a fresh bandage on before you go home. I was like, okay. Oh my God, I thought she tore the skin off. I thought she tore my lower member off. She grabbed that bandage and just ripped. I said, did you have to do that? She goes, well, the pain dissipates faster than if I eat. So she got back at me for pissing her off. Because the day after surgery, she goes, you need some exercise. No, I don't. She goes, you are going to get out of that bed and you're going to walk down that hall. And I said, I don't think so. She reached over and she grabbed a handful of skin. Oh, she had a hand like a vice. Grabbed me by the shoulder, jerked me on the bed. Okay, I'm walking. So she got me back for pissing her off and ripped that bandage off. Oh, I thought the skin came with it. I thought my lower unmentionable came with it. Oh, this stupid lighter. You know, since they put that Cleveland sign up, down by the lake. I have yet to go down there and see it. You see it on TV. I'm going to have to take a ride down to Edgewater Park one day. Boy, a lot of shit that I've been... Although I am making plans to go downtown. Hopefully, I get some good weather because I'm going to jump on the old rapid transit, get off at the Terminal Tower, also known as Union Station, because that's what the train area used to be called, Union Station, and then walk up the ramp to Public Square, hang a quick right, and there's Peterson's right on the corner. Now get me some good caramel corn, and then I'll do a little walk around Public Square. And it'll bring back memories. Maybe if I feel up to it, I'll get on the free... They don't call it, they call it trolley service. Because the buses look like little trolley cars. Maybe I'll ride down to the old Hippodrome Theater. All depends on the weather. Be my luck, it'll be warm and sunny, and by the time I get downtown, there'll be 2 feet of snow. Kathy knows Cleveland weather. Yeah, I was, matter of fact, I was just getting ready to walk out in the kitchen. And the doorbell rang. And there was my letter courier standing there going, I have 2 packages for you. I said, well, the long, slender one, I know what that is. I says, I wasn't expecting another one. She goes, well, it's yours. Oh, yeah, back in the day. Were they still running the electric buses? Remember the buses? They looked like buses, but they only ran downtown. And they had those pickups that went up in the cables. And when the bus would get to a certain point, the guy would get out and he would reverse the contacts. And the bus basically had 2 steering wheels. One in the front, one in the back. And he would lock the steering wheel straight, and then he'd walk up to the other end of the bus, and then he would drive down through downtown, get to a certain point, Although I got to ride on one of the last actual trolley cars before they did away with them. Now, those were cool. Matter of fact, I think like 2 weeks after my grandfather took me for a ride, they did away with the trolley cars completely. That's when they got the electric buses. But what people don't realize is underneath is the Detroit Superior Bridge. There used to be a train that ran under the bridge over the river to downtown. And that's all this little train did, was run back and forth underneath the Detroit Superior Bridge. And the tracks are still down there. They were supposedly there was they were trying to get funds for a restoration project to restore the terminal and I don't know, one or two of the little train cars, because they're still down there. All they did was close the entrances. Because there were a lot of, at that time, they didn't have sidewalk. Because another thing people don't realize is they widened that Detroit Superior Bridge. Because it was only 2 lanes, 1 lane each way, and then they widened that bridge. But that little railroad is still underneath. And since there was no sidewalks, and then basically it was too far if you went up to the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge and walked across. I remember a lot about downtown. Especially because my other grandfather, my mother's father, was in the mounted unit, and he used to direct traffic right at the foot of the Detroit Superior Bridge. He would direct traffic at Superior and West 9th. So I'm up on my downtown Cleveland history. The only thing I never got to do was take a ride on the horse. My grandfather in the winter would ride his horse. And the cool thing was, when he would go into little Chinatown, the horse would walk down the back alley behind the restaurants. And there was one restaurant that had a swinging window. And the horse would poke his nose in that window. And the little Chinese cooks would give him carrots. And that horse knew exactly where that window was. Because the window did one of these. And they always kept it unlatched. And they'd be cooking away in that kitchen. Next thing you know, a horse's head had come in the window. Yeah, here you go, have a carrot. But I never got to ride on the horse. My grandfather always promised me, I'll take you for a ride on the horse. Never did. And of course, being a little kid, that horse looked like he was 8 foot tall, you know. Not to mention my grandfather looked like he was 10 foot tall sitting on top of that horse. Some good memories. I think a year after I got to see him on his horse, he retired. And when he retired, they moved out to California. And unfortunately, I never saw him again. Because he was retired for about a year and had a heart attack, and that was it. And the interesting thing, I had found out years later, Grandfather 1 met Grandfather 2, never knowing that was my mother's father. Because I guess they got married on the fly somewhere. And it wasn't like today, you know, you got 9,000 people. Oh yeah, the revolving doors. The revolving doors in front of Higbee's. And those were a bitch to push, too. Those were heavy. Not like today, you know, where they're motorized. No, I don't know if they're motorized downtown. I don't even know if they have them revolving doors anymore. But I've been to, like the one doctor's office out in Rocky River. They have a motorized revolving door in the lobby. But back in the day, took all of your energy to push that goddamn door. And I used to like to stay in it, go around and around and around and around. And my mother'd be like, ow, 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 get out of that revolving door. Ow, did you have to hit me on the head? Yeah, because they had them big rubber lips on the end of the door, basically to keep the cold air out and that. And those things that they would bend and sweep along the glass, and you'd have to push your ass off in order to get that thing to go. Yeah, between the revolving doors and the wooden escalators, those were some neat things at Higbee's. Although those wooden escalators were scary. Oh yeah, you'd get somebody that spin that thing about 40 miles an hour and it would like wing you out. You'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. It was interesting that, well, May Company didn't need them kind of doors because mainly those were for the people that were coming up from the rapid and from when we used to have a lot of rail traffic. Not so much anymore. Oh yeah, those were scary. The wooden roller coasters. I remember they had that one at Pier Springs Park. That goddamn thing would shake from something. You're like, oh god, this thing gonna fall off the tracks. Because they had at Euclid Beach had that wooden roller coaster, and that was scary. I remember as you would enter Euclid Beach, they had the laughing lady. Were you ever at Euclid Beach see the laughing lady? Supposedly somebody restored her. And the Calliope at Euclid Beach, now that they did restore. That's somewhere in a museum. I can't remember where. I think down in southern Ohio somewhere. The Calliope from Euclid Beach Park. Because the Calliope was right in the middle of the big giant Yahoo mobile. Remember the big Calliope right in the middle of the merry-go-round? Oh, yeah, they were like bowling balls. Well, maybe they weren't that big, but when you're a young kid, yeah. Yeah, I can't remember. It's somewhere in southern Ohio. Because it took the guy like 20 years to restore it. Because remember the jet cars? It was like a merry-go-round, but they were like big spaceships. Well, believe it or not, there is a guy, he lives somewhere off of Rocky River Drive. He got two of those and mounted them on an automotive chassis. And he drives them all over the place. And you can rent them out for parties. Yeah, he got a hold of two of those big spaceships and mounted them like on truck chassis. And he rents them out for parties and gatherings and so on. I saw one last summer going down Rocky River Drive. I was like, holy shit, what the hell's that? He's got two of them. As a matter of fact, I can't remember. He's got a website. And he's got pictures of both of them in his driveway. And he rents them out for parties. I don't know how much an hour, but he's got two of them. And kids see them today and they like, oh, look, Star Wars. And then you tell them, no, these were a ride at Euclid Beach. And they're like, what's a Euclid Beach? I was always afraid that the chain was going to break. Because that chain that was mounted on the front and back didn't look that sturdy. And that sucker'd be... And those cars that slowly go out farther and farther, and you're like, whoa! And all they had was like a little chain across, not like today, you go to Cedar Point and you're in a 12-point harness and latched in and strapped and... I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're either mounted on either an Eldorado or a Tornado front chassis, and then it's got just the straight I-beam axle in the back like the Tornado and the Eldorado had. Because in the website, it explains it was a real feat of engineering to get that engine and everything underneath the front without having to destroy a lot of the car. But I don't know how he managed it, but they're street legal. They got license plates on them. He drives them around. I'd like to take him riding one. That'd bring back memories. Euclid Beach was cool. I don't know why they ever closed it. My neighbor would take us kids out there 2-3 times a summer. They closed it down, I mean, the entrance is still there. It looked like two castles I think they built condos on the property. I could be mistaken, but when they tore it down, God, we lost Euclid Beach Park, Geauga Lake Park, SeaWorld. Cleveland had some neat stuff back in the day. I still don't understand. They spent all that money to restore Euclid Beach Park or Geauga Lake Park, and they spent all that money to build SeaWorld. And then what did we have SeaWorld? What, 10 years? And gone. Although, I don't know, do they even have SeaWorld anymore? I know after that whale killed that one trainer, old PETA started their shit. Turn the whales loose. Well, them whales had been in captivity for so long, you can't turn them loose. They wouldn't survive. Oh, it don't get... yeah, that's right. You have to call. Yeah, I remember looking at the website real quick. Call for pricing. You know, Kathy, when it says call for pricing, you know it's not cheap. Those ain't going for no $25 an hour. I can guarantee that. I'd just like to, find out when he's going to run up and down Rocky River Drive. Throw him a few bucks and say, hey, take me up to Cam's Corners, turn around and come back. But it's amazing how he put them on those chassis to make them motorized. I bet you maybe $500 an hour. Or like $250 an hour, minimum 4. Now, it wouldn't be bad if, like, say it was some corporate picnic. But if you were just having a family reunion, that'd be a little pricey. This lighter's pissing me off. I would like to know how he got his hands on those. Because when they dismantled that park, it wasn't like they threw them in a scrap pile. I wonder what kind of connections he had to get his hands on them. Because you know damn right well, a lot of that stuff, collectors were probably bidding on that stuff. Like the old Calliope and the Laughing Lady. She was fucking scary. You'd walk in the park and she'd be bending laughing at you, scare the shit out of you. Although the fun house was fun. I loved the fun house at good old Euclid Beach. Yeah, we used to go, my neighbor, he would go around the neighborhood and talk to everybody's parents. He had a big ass Buick Roadmaster station wagon. And he'd take us all out to Euclid Beach. At least twice during the summer. Sometime 3 times. And you know, you're a young kid. You don't think about bringing a camera. Those would be some pictures to cherish. Because I tell these young kids, we used to have SeaWorld here. And they're like, yeah, in your dreams, old man. Yes, we had SeaWorld. We had Euclid Beach Park. We had Purita Springs Park until some assholes burned it down. They set fire to the skating rink. Although, when you come down Puritas Road and you go down Puritas Hill into Met Park, there are still a couple of sections from the Blue Streak roller coaster. They never tore them all down. The concrete pilings, you have to know what you're looking for, though. The average person that doesn't know about Purita Springs Park wouldn't, they drive right past them. But they're still there. I was at Purita Springs Park twice before they burned it down. They never did catch the goddamn kids that set it on fire. What a mean thing to do. Because they never rebuild it. They just tore it down. Because I remember, oh God, I had to be 7, 8, maybe, yeah, 7 or 8 years old, when Geauga Lake used to have a motorboat ride. And it was a beautiful Chris Craft. And I don't know how much it was. There was the seat in the front, and then there was a seat in the back. And they would take you all around Geauga Lake. The guy'd make a couple of laps and then come back in. But I don't understand what killed Geauga Lake Park. I don't ever remember there being any serious accidents out there where like a lawsuit would have. Maybe. I don't know why Geauga Lake got shut down. And then, like I say, with SeaWorld, too. I mean, geez. All the frickin' money that SeaWorld spent to build that park. At least, at least I got to take my kid out there a couple of times before it shut down. I don't know if he has memories of it. I do. And typical every little kid. I want to get there early and sit in the front row so the whale splashes us. And then at the end of the show, splash, 7,000 gallons of water come over on you. Almost as bad as being at a Gallagher show when he used to smash the goddamn watermelons. I saw Gallagher. I think he did a show at Kent State. I think that's where I saw him. Because his show was a little too messy for the front row. Although I think the front row was probably shut down. Good old Gallagher. He was crazy. And who was the other oddball? Carrot Top. Oh, there was somebody that should have been probated. Kathy's going. Carrot Top? Gallagher? Huh. I wonder if SeaWorld closed first. Because if SeaWorld closed, I could see why Geauga Lake wouldn't have the draw anymore. because those two kind of went hand in hand. So if SeaWorld closed, people are like, Jug Lake, we'll go up to Sandusky, to Cedar Point. Yeah, see, I don't remember all that. Although, with Cedar Point, I could see people go, why should I go to Jug Lake when we can go out to Cedar Point? But I know Cedar Point ain't cheap. Although, what is cheap anymore? Nothing. I bet you Cedar Point is probably about $125 a head to spend the day out there. Just just to do the rides. I can imagine what it would cost to eat out there. Well, like I said, a couple years back, my buddy took his 4 grandkids to an Indians game, and it was $500. He spent $500. And I remember when my grandfather would take me to an Indians game when the stadium was the old stadium. A bleacher seat was 10 cents. And after the 3rd inning, if nobody was sitting in a box seat, you could move. Okay, that explains it. I thought so. That explains it. Jug Lake didn't have anything to draw people out there. Because, like I say, the two of them went kind of hand in hand. If you got there early enough, you'd see all everything at SeaWorld, and then you'd go over to Jog Lake and spend the rest of the day. So I'm surprised Jog Lake hung on that long. Boy, they tried to make a go of it though. I wonder if there's anything left of it. I'm supposed they tore it all down. Probably built condos. Can you imagine? Although, SeaWorld wrote it off. But can you imagine the money that they spent to build that park and then close it and tear it down? What a waste. But I know PETA was going crazy on SeaWorld. But you know what? Nobody from PETA realized when they brought those whales in, they were babies, and all those whales knew was captivity. You can't just put them out in the fucking ocean. Although I remember, there was a lot of controversy when SeaWorld would go out and they would catch them babies. Although, after that whale killed that trainer, was it one or two? Something tells me there were two trainers that got killed. Or was the one like severely injured and the other one? Because she was like one of the originals. And they said that day, they don't know why, she had a big ponytail. And she used to keep it tucked in under a bathing cap. Housing, retail, and city park. Well, at least it didn't go to waste. Because I saw videos, and that day she was running the whale through his paces, and she had her ponytail, and he grabbed her by the ponytail, and he literally scalped her. Not to mention, he beat her up pretty bad. Because there was some history with that whale. That wasn't the first time he attacked a trainer. As a matter of fact, if I remember right, they had caught him and his mother. And they were down in Florida. And they took him away from his mother. And killer whales are smart. And he kind of developed an attitude over the years. Because she wasn't the first one. But he took out all his aggression on her. It's somewhere on YouTube. A tree. Whoa. That's right, yeah. Yeah, I remember the name. Tillicum. Yeah, he had an attitude. Because basically, he was getting a little aggressive, and they kept him by himself. they wouldn't let him intermingle with the other killer whales. And he really copped an attitude. Well, I think they got him. There was some sea park. God, I can't remember where it was. They were like floating cages. I can't remember what the name of that water park was. It wasn't a water park. It was. God, it's been years since I saw that documentary. But yeah, he definitely had attitude. I thought, God, I didn't know it was 3. I know it was 2, but the one trainer, she was like with SeaWorld from day one. And she was matter of fact, she trained all the trainers. And he scalped her, among other things. Sealand, yeah. Sealand, yeah. That's, yeah. Yeah, there was. I'll tell you what, it is a very interesting documentary. Very interesting. But I'm pretty sure that they had taken him away from his mother. If I remember the documentary right. And that's when the attitude started. But it took a long time before the aggression really came out of him. I mean, they pushed his buttons for a long time. But I think what did it was when they isolated him and they wouldn't let him interact with the other killer whales. I think that's when they really pushed his button. But it was a good documentary. Although I think there was more than one done. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 documentaries done. But yeah, Tillicum. Because I think he was the only one that ever harmed or killed the trainer. But it was always kept hush hush. They knew he was getting aggressive. And they kept it hush hush. Although, typical of a big corporation. SeaWorld going, wait a minute. Don't tell nobody he's aggressive. Keep it quiet. But that was a shame when, God, I can't remember her name. Because she was, like I say, she literally trained all the trainers. She had started out as a lowly person doing an act to work her way up the ladder to become that important at SeaWorld, and then for that whale to give her the once-over. I didn't know it was 3. Pardon me. That's, Dawn, Dawn Brenshaw. And the sad thing was, she thought she knew those whales inside and out. But of course, it's not like the whale's going to come up and tell her, hey, I'm getting pissed off here. But he had showed some signs earlier because he had grabbed that one guy by the foot, I think, the foot or the leg, and he took him down under, and at the last minute, he let go of him. And everybody thought it was part of the show until they dragged him out. '91, '99 to 2010. God, you would have thought after the first one, they went like, I think maybe we need to get rid of him. But of course, in '91, they probably figured, accident, trainer's fault. But I know poor Dawn, he scalped her. She was beat to shit when they pulled her out of that goddamn ring. Even in '91, if they thought, oops, it was an accident. After 1999, you would have went like, wait a minute. That's 2. Because Dawn had worked with every single whale at SeaWorld. She was the head trainer, and then she trained the trainers. And by the time anybody realized what was happening, it was too late. That was sad. Like I say, the documentary was interesting, but it was sad. But I don't remember 3. Wow. I guess I'm going to have to look that YouTube documentary up and watch it again. But it was, it was nasty. Because when they went on whale hunts, all they looked for was the babies. And here we're sitting there, look at the whale. Oh, cool. Not realizing actually how mean it was. But orcas are really super intelligent. I've watched some documentaries on how they hunt. I watched this one. There was a seal, and it was up on this big floating ice, with a big piece of floating ice. And it was interesting how they tried to knock that seal off of that and they would come up and they would look every now and then, see where the seal is. They would swim underneath and bump, and the seal would roll over. They'd come over on the other side, bump it the other way. And then sooner or later, seal lunch. Yeah, they're very intelligent. Very intelligent. Because I remember I was watching, it was off the California coast, and they were finding these dead sharks minus their livers. That was the only thing. The stomachs were ripped open and the livers were gone. And here it was the killer whales attacking the sharks. And they knew exactly where the liver was. And they would just bite that section and open up and take the liver. Because in the documentary, it showed them how they would almost beach themselves to get a baby seal. And it was interesting because the mothers were showing the young how to turn sideways and work your way back into the deep water so that you wouldn't get beached. That's why I would never mess with an orca. Probably one of the most intelligent whales in the ocean. Then I can't remember if it was like, if it's the blue whales or the sperm whales or what. When a mother will have a young one, how they will basically track and then work their way to distract the mother away from the young one so that they can have lunch. That's the sad part. Yeah, I guess I'll have to look up the old SeaWorld documentary tonight. Like I say, I knew it was 2. I hadn't realized 3. After the second one, he should have got retired. Very interesting, though. Because I'm pretty sure after 2010, that was like the slow demise of SeaWorld. I don't even know if SeaWorld has, do they have any, do they do any shows anymore? Do they have, or did they get rid of all the whales? Because I think the last one was down in Florida. Although, you know, once old PETA gets on your ass, give it up. It's like that, oh, what the hell's that organization that they're against whaling. Oh, what the hell's the name of that? They're not Greenpeace. Because one of their big ships is are they Greenpeace? The one they got the ship, the Steve Irwin, and I can't remember what the other ship. I didn't think they were Greenpeace. Because I know one of the big ships that they have is the Steve Irwin. I can't remember what the second ship. And they basically they go out and they interfere with the goddamn Chinese and Japanese whaling ships. I don't think they're Greenpeace. Maybe they are. Because I know they named the one ship the Steve Irwin. And they had a smaller one. It was like a catamaran. I can't remember if it was called the Bridget Bardot or the Jane Fonda or something. But I can't remember what the other big ship's name was. They're a conservation group. The Sea Shepherd. Yeah, Sea Shepherd Conservation. The Sea Shepherd and the Steve Irwin. Because the captain of the one ship, I think, is still got a international arrest warrant out for him. Because everybody on the whole crew is all volunteers. I don't know how they're funded though. Because I know when you stop, you pull the Steve Irwin into the gas pump, that ain't no $100 fill up. Not to mention, you have to have enough food for weeks on end out chasing whaling ships. Yeah, I couldn't think of the Sea Shepherd. I remember the Steve Irwin. And then that catamaran that they had, it was like the Bridget Bardot or the Jane Fonda or something. It was named after a female, I think. Because I remember one of the goddamn Japanese whaling ships rammed it. And they were lucky to limp into dry dock to get it fixed. I can't remember. I think they were on some cable channel. But it never explained how they are funded. I mean, you'd have to have some pretty hefty donations to run them big ass ships. Oh, this morning, you want you want to watch something interesting? I watched 3 different documentaries on basically how China hid the virus until it infected like 600,000 people. How, I'll tell you what, They were nasty to hide the origin and not tell the world about that virus. And they they literally caused that pandemic and never got reprimanded. The World Health Organization never reprimanded them. I watched 3 different documentaries today. They kept it hidden until it got out of hand. And of course, every country in the goddamn world was starting to come down with it. And then they were like, well, we did do some study on that. And then what made matters worse in the United States was Blondie going, we've got this all under control. It's just a bad flu. That's all. It's a bad flu. We got it all under control. Don't worry. He was as bad as the Chinese. Yeah, I watched him, up in the old Oval Office going, we got this under control. It's nothing to be concerned about. It's just a really nasty case of the flu. Makes you wonder daily what is getting covered up in the world. How much other bullshit is being hidden from the public. Because basically when the top scientists figured out what it was, the government swore them to secrecy and made them destroy all their records. And it was interesting because an eye doctor originally leaked the information to the world. And then next thing you know, the old eye doctor disappeared. Never to be seen or heard from again. After he signed a confession going, I was wrong. And he vanished from sight. But it was really nasty that they had pinpointed it and realized that it didn't come from bats. That it was basically face-to-face contact that was spreading it. And they were like, shh, don't tell nobody. We can handle this. Then every single hospital in China got overwhelmed. People were taking that dirt nap left and right. Oh, yeah, that's what the catamaran was, the Bob Barker. That's right. The catamaran was the Bob Barker. Because the biggest ship was the Sea Shepherd. The next ship was the Steve Irwin. And the big fancy $1 million catamaran was the Bob Barker. That's right. Yep. Very interesting. Leave it to Kathy to save me. Boy, she got her finger on the Google. Or Siri, whichever one you're using. Google or Siri. I don't even have my cell phone over here. Although by the time I hunt and peck with my stylus, you're Googling it. Oh, okay. You know what's interesting, Kathy? Your big comment with the Bob Barker donations came up over here. It didn't come up over here. I don't know why. That whole paragraph is missing from this screen. But it's over here. And your I love Google and your is over here on both screens. That's why it took me a while. I looked over and I was like, holy shit, there's a big paragraph over there. Yeah. The Sea Shepherd, the Steve Irwin, and the Bob Barker. Evidently, he must have donated his whole estate. Although Bob Barker was a gazillionaire. The guy had money. But even so, I wonder if they're still in existence. Because it cost a fortune to run them ships. Although it was interesting how although the goddamn Japanese, they're catching them whales and they have a big sign on the side of their boat, research vessel. Yeah, you're researching all right. You're eating them whales. Japanese eat some weird shit. Sea cucumbers and sea urchins and blah. Is anybody watching the Netflix With Love, Megan? I was watching some of the trailers the other day. I can't believe the money that Netflix is paying them. Well, I don't have Netflix. I'm not paying for nothing. But the other day on AOL, there was a whole bunch of the trailers for the upcoming shows, Because they have their own line of wine and their own line of jams and jellies and the interesting thing was season 1 only got like a 3.2 rating. And Netflix signed, and they're in the midst of filming season 2. Meghan Markle, the Dukeness of Sussex. Because one of her friends asked her, "What's your last name?" And it's Sussex. They take they're the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. So their last name is Sussex. I always thought it was like Rothschild or something. Yeah, it showed her with somebody was interviewing her, someone that's got a website, and they were eating smash burgers. They went to this little joint in California, and they call them smash burgers. And she had a jalapeno smash burger. And the girl that was interviewing her said, "When do you really feel like yourself?" And she goes, "Right now, eating a smash burger." She goes, "Harry and I come here often. And they like kind of blend right into the crowd. Hey, Linda's here." Yeah, let me dig this out. I don't know if you were in on this. My fancy t-shirt that I got today. My Cleveland Skyline t-shirt. Yeah, wait a minute. I thought this thing looked a little large. 2X. Holy cow. Ron, I gained some weight, but not that much. Jeez, look at it. I hope it shrinks a little bit. Let me see. Does it say pre-shrunk? Port company. Let me see if it says pre-shrunk. Tear away label. Okay, I can tear the label off. Let's see what the washing instructions are. Don't use bleach. That's okay, I don't. %100% cotton. Nope, it doesn't say pre-shrunk. But maybe I can downsize it a little. It's cool though. I like the color blue. So if you're in on this, Linda, thank you very much. It replaces the Cleveland Skyline t-shirt I lost. Another shirt I never got to wear. I can never fold these right. Okay, that way. This way. There we go. There we are. Folded back like normal. That is a nice color of blue. I really like that. Very fancy. That was a surprise because I didn't expect it. Yeah, it is. It's very nice. It's a very nice shirt. The skyline, the printing is perfect. And that blue, I really like that blue. Because most of my shirts are black. All my t-shirts I bought from Temu, they're all black, 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 black. I'll have to wear my grumpy old man t-shirt to my shrink next week, instead of one of those offensive t-shirts like I've been wearing. That'll shock the shit out of him. Yeah. It's not offensive. What are you doing? Either that or wear one of my Hawaiian shirts. Yeah, I went to my oncologist. I was going to wear a Hawaiian shirt and I forgot. I'll have to figure out which one to wear to my pain management doctor this month. Maybe I'll wear an offensive one to him. Well, that's okay, Linda. Family comes first. Family, animals, they all come first. You can always watch me on the rebound. I thought for sure maybe Mears or Nomad would pop in. I guess maybe Nomad isn't watching during the day anymore. And we're still stuck at 110 subscribers. That's okay. Don't bother me any. Keeps the group small. Although I watched a YouTuber, oh gee, what? He had 4 million subscribers. I couldn't believe it. I had to look at that number, did a double take. Guy had 4 million subscribers. Matter of fact, it was like 4,400,000 and some. Oh man. Yeah, I thought, because usually if I mention Nomad, he pops in to say hi, you know. So he must not be watching during the day. I know he used to. Evidently he doesn't anymore. More important things to do. That's okay. He's still a subscriber, so works for me. Well, hopefully everything goes nice and smooth tomorrow now that I have every piece that I need to put that master cylinder on. Tomorrow I got to take it downstairs, put it in the vise on the workbench and bleed the shit out of it. It says in the instructions, no less than 35 pumps. Hey, God. My arms will be broken by the time I get done pumping that thing. And then I checked. Everything should, of course, with my luck, nothing goes to plan. But I should be able to disconnect everything, take the old one off, put the new one on, hook everything up. And if everything goes right, I shouldn't have to bleed the wheels. But we'll see. At least I'll have a new master cylinder. The only thing I have to worry about is the truck staying together long enough to get another year out of it. I don't think I'll get 2. I might be lucky enough to get 1 more year out of it. 'Cause there ain't much left of it. Every time I slam a door, another piece falls off. Typical Cleveland vehicle, though. It's been a Cleveland vehicle its whole life from brand new, and it shows it. Because in Cleveland, when we get 1 inch of snow, they put down 7 inches of salt. And you literally watch your vehicle fall apart before your eyes. It's sad. The thing only has 149,000 miles on it. It looks like it's got 449,000 miles on it. But it just runs and runs and runs. You know, if I wasn't so gimped up, and if I had the equipment, I would look for an old Nissan pickup with like a blown motor in it, and put this drivetrain right in it. That engine does not burn 1 ounce of oil. I pull that dipstick right on the full mark. Power steering leaks like shit, but the engine don't burn no oil. Okay, the chats are equal now. Evidently, this chat over here on this screen didn't like that big paragraph, Kathy. Yeah, everything's there except that. It's over here, but it's not over there. Strange. But at least I have nice and big. Instead of this little dinky dipsy doodle over here. I'm glad that worked. And you would have thought Kaiser would have done something like this. Because he was always, all he had to do was put a second computer up with a monitor and put it in front of him like me. But he's taking roll call in jail now. Well, peoples, I think it's about that time. I didn't have nothing to eat all day, so I'm really hungry. have my fancy. Oh, they were good last night. Oh, man. I put the cheese in the bun. Took the hot dogs out of the broiler. Put them in the bun. Chopped onion. Some chopped pickle. And Cleveland Bertram Stadium mustard. They were excellent. Okay, group. Thanks for popping in. Everybody, thanks for the t-shirt. I really appreciate it. You guys are too good to me. We know where, right here. All right, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your evening. We will meet again tomorrow night. And once again, thanks for the shirt. I really appreciate it.